You're not owed a struggle-free life in business. Struggle is inevitable. You have to wrap your mind around that.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Tactical Agent Podcast. I am one of the hosts, Mike. Chris is in the other room at our Airbnb. Cheers to you guys. We got some coffee in hand here at 4,900 feet in Colorado. So we're a little bit behind on the podcast. If you didn't notice that we missed last week, but we didn't want to miss this week for you guys. We are on the road, adding some skills to our repertoire. But our Airbnb does have a keg, which is pretty cool. We are going to share with you a training that we recently did on overcoming struggles. So as you guys know, we run the Ten7 Project. We're on a mission to help 10,000 veterans, cops, public safety professionals change their lives, supplement and replace their income with a real estate business. And of course, you're going to run into struggles when you do that. So what we decided to do was address that in one of our coaching sessions, like how do you understand and approach and overcome struggles. So you're going to get a little peek behind the curtain on kind of how we coach on a week in and week out. You guys can see if that would be a fit for you. If you've ever thought about getting into the real estate business, if you are already an agent and you identify with our mission that resonates with you, check us out, ten7project.com, ten7project.com. Enjoy the session, and we'll see you guys next week.
Talking about what should we talk about? He said, overcoming struggles is something that would be beneficial right now. So I sat down and thought to myself, okay, what have I learned in the 6 years that I've been doing this business? What have I learned about overcoming struggles that has helped me? And so this is a practitioner's guide to overcoming struggles. This isn't just theory. This is like, what have I actually experienced and done in my life and business to overcome struggles that I think if you understand and adopt these principles and practices, that can help you as well. And so first, I want it to be clear that we can allow ourselves to identify some things as struggles that are really just inconveniences. They're not really a problem, but we allow these things to become excuses for our lack of effort or consistency. We're struggling to do the things that we're supposed to do because it's work. We're struggling to be consistent with the things that we know we ought to do because it's not easy. And what you eventually learn is that success is boring, right? Like growing a business becomes boring because if you're just doing the right things, it's not fresh, it's not new, it's not exciting, right? It's not young love. It's it's learning to love despite knowing that you don't love everything about that person anymore, right? You have to learn to just stick with it because that's what growth and success looks like. It is not as sexy as it looks like on the internet. It is boring, but it can be fulfilling, right? So I just want to be clear about that. When we talk about overcoming struggles, a lot of people will come to me with a struggle, but there's not really a struggle. The struggle is you're just not doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. And that's not a struggle. That's laziness. That's an excuse. So you may just need to be confronted about that, right? Before you start going into how hard this mountain is that you're facing to climb, let's just be honest about it, right? Because you don't go to Everest without preparing, right? You created the problem yourself, right? If you book a plane and fly to Everest to climb and you have never even gone to a climbing gym, the problem isn't how hard Everest is. The problem is you're dumb because you haven't done the things right. So it's an excuse, right? So let's be clear about that. But when it comes to legitimate struggles, I think you have to have a perspective shift, a paradigm shift. One thing is that you need to understand that you're not owed a struggle-free life in business. struggle is inevitable. You have to wrap your mind around that. You are not owed a struggle-free life. A struggle-free life is not a reality. That's not how the world works. And so when people get romanticize this idea of success, meaning no struggle, well, you're setting yourself up for frustration and failure because you're living into something that's not real. Okay, it's imaginary. So you have to be able to work through struggle because you have a real perspective on it, and you know it's inevitable, right? You know that you're not owed this stress-free business and stress-free life. That's not real. So you have to get the right perspective on it in the first place. The other thing is that you need to understand that struggle, because it's part of life, because it's part of business, is actually a helpful thing because it forges us into better people and creates new opportunities. When we frame struggle as a negative thing, well, then when we face it, then we're having to battle not only the obstacle that we're facing, but we have to battle now the attitudes and what flows from that because, oh, woe is me, I'm facing this struggle. But if we can reframe struggle as opportunity, now we can face the struggle with eagerness. Now we can face the struggle with energy. Now we can move forward through the obstacle because we know it's going to forge us into better people. It is going to create greater opportunities on the other side as we move through it. So that first piece of advice on how to deal with struggle is to change your perspective on it, to see it differently. Because if you can see it differently, then you can act differently. You can act in accordance with how you're really seeing it and not with how you've maybe thought about it in the past. Hopefully that makes sense. So there's sort of like a 3-step process that I came up with, and the preacher in me has an alliteration for you. It's 3 P's. First of all, you've got to prepare. So if you know that struggle is inevitable, well, then it's on you to prepare to face struggles. It's that simple. You know it's going to happen, so prepare for it. Well, how do you prepare? Well, first of all, you get the right tools and equipment and people and things around you, which is like in this case, like for your real estate business, the 10-7 Project is one means of preparation. Going through the academy, attending the masterminds, right? Like doing the things can prepare you to face the struggles. But in addition to that, it's kind of rehearsing what Tim Ferriss calls negative visualization. Putting yourself in the position of facing struggle and really working through the question of like, well, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You know, what's the worst thing that's going to happen here? Right? And then taking the sting out of it, taking the unexpected out of it. Just you'll be prepared because you've been there before, right? You've already been there in your head and prepared yourself for like what this worst case scenario is. And then when it happens, you're not shocked. You're not pushed back. You're like, hey, I was ready for this. I planned on this happening. So I'm ready, right? Be prepared. And again, if you have these paradigms, if you see struggle differently and you know that it's inevitable, don't be shocked, don't be surprised, don't be dismayed, be prepared. You're like, oh yeah, I fully anticipated this. You know, Molly was talking about a difficult listing. I've got a listing on the market right now. It's been like, man, I think we've been 3 weeks, maybe coming up on 4. And it's a struggle to move. I've been doing all the right things and it's like, man, what have I got to do? This is a struggle. But I knew it was going to happen. And you know what's even better is I prepared my clients that it could happen. Right. So you prepare for it, and it kind of takes the sting out of the struggle when you're well prepared and you have the right mindset about it. The next thing is that you got to pause, right? Don't get caught up in the moment. Don't let the moment control you. It's okay. We've preached this as gospel, right? There's no emergencies in real estate. Like, relax, right? This isn't like the experience of combat. This isn't the experience of responding to a 911 call that is like someone's life is on the line. That's not what this is. You've got plenty. And you know what? Even in those cases, what do they teach us is to pause, right? Combat breathing. Like, hey, when you're on your way to the call, like, start breathing, calm down, pause for a second, right? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, right? Like we can calm ourselves down to approach the struggle that we know that we're about to enter into. It's the same thing here. When you realizing you're in the middle of a struggle or about ready to face one, it's okay to pause, to reframe the struggle as opportunity, to reframe it as, hey, I knew I was going to be here, to rely on what you've brought to the battle in terms of preparation. You're ready to go, right? Hey, what tools do I have? What resources do I have at my disposal? You can remind yourself of your why. Why am I doing this? What is my mission here? And recalibrate. Just pause, breathe, and then re-engage. You have the space to be able to do that. And then you need to be able to push through, right? There's only one way forward, and that is through the obstacle. The Stoics had a phrase that was, the obstacle is the way. The obstacle is the way. We want to think that there's ways around all the hard things in life, and there's not. There are no shortcuts. You have to go through the struggle. And again, if your view of struggle is bad, and struggle crushes me, and struggle ruins me, and struggle makes my business fail, and struggle makes it harder to keep going, if that's how you frame it, these steps are only going to further frustrate you. But if you see it again as, wow, if I move through this, I'm going to come out a better person. I'm going to see new opportunities that I would never have seen before. And this is an advantage for me. Well, then you'll push through. You got to do it. You have to, as they say, embrace the suck, right? If it's not going to be easy, but knowing there's one way through, you have to push forward. Now, all that sounds well and good, but how do I do those things more effectively? I think that you need to understand that going through struggles alone is a choice. It's not a mandatory thing. Chris and I talked about this on one of our podcasts recently, is that the lone wolf mindset is stupid. Wolves travel in packs. Wolves by themselves die. Like, it doesn't work. They need the pack. And you deciding to go through a struggle alone is a choice. It really is. It is your choice whether to go through it alone or with people that will walk through it with you. It's really that simple. And I know a lot of people wear, well, I don't like to ask for help as a badge of honor. I rely on myself. Those are cover-ups for your own limiting beliefs and inadequacies of skill. Those are cover-ups. That is not a badge of honor. There's nothing special about you in that regard. I make it through myself. That's not. Why are you proud of that? You're a human being. You're not made to be alone. You're made to be part of a tribe, part of a community. That's how we thrive. So it's not a badge of honor to be like, look at all these things I accomplished by myself. So what? That's not who you're made to be. And that's not how we're designed to move through struggle. So if you feel like you are alone in your life, in your business, you need to stop using that as a cover and start addressing why it is that you are hiding from being connected to other people. Why is it? What is it that's going on in your life, your mind, your heart, your soul that's keeping you from being open to connectedness to other people who can help you? It's not the struggle that's the problem, it's you. And I don't say that like you're a problem. That's not an accusatory tone. That is something that I'm telling you, you have to dig into yourself. We tend to think that the problem is outside of us. That's the cycle that we make to excuse ourselves. Oh, look at this big obstacle. The reason I quit, or I gave up on the struggle is because look at how hard that struggle is. That's an excuse. And then we get around other people who will affirm us in our quitting because they all look and go, yeah, that is a big mountain to climb. That is a big obstacle in your way. I would do the same thing if I were you. Well, of course you would, because you're all lone wolves who are using your struggle as an excuse instead of an opportunity. And you've got to open yourself up to being with other people who can help walk you through this stuff. So you've got to work through those limiting beliefs. So the questions become, when you feel like it's harder to press through, ask yourself, are you taking advantage of the resources available to you? Right? Like, have you taken full advantage of the resources that are at your disposal that we have given to you? Have you taken advantage of all of the people in this project that are available to you, that are all committed to your success, right? Have you? If you feel like you're struggling, have you really leaned into those things that we're providing? Right? So I think those are important questions to ask. And I think that if we can get to what it is inside of our hearts that keeps us from those things, you tap into that and you fix that problem at its root, the growth you will experience will be unlike anything you could ever imagine in your lives. I really believe that.
I want to jump in for a second, and I hope I don't derail you too much, but
No.
I want to highlight the importance of what you're saying right now. We started this 3 years ago next month. How many of the people that quit have reached out to you for help?
Zero. Exactly zero.
Same. Exactly zero. All the people that you guys see posting all the checks and all the, hey, I'm finally getting this done, things are finally working out, all that stuff. Every one of them has asked for help. Every one of them. That's one of the biggest differences in those that succeed and those that fail. Those that succeed are willing to ask for help, but not just that, also, engage in relationships and be connected to people and realize that, everything Mike's saying right now, it's so hugely important. All right, you can have your talk back, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially it. That concludes my notes that I kind of jotted down. And again, this is from a practitioner standpoint. This is from asking myself, okay, what have I learned along the way about struggle in life and business that if I could tell myself 6 years ago, I would. So there you have it.